Hey Jazz Bums, Chris here with a jazz snack. Today it's Friday. I'm off work today, so I thought I'd share a record with you. The record I'm going to show you is something that I've been listening to for a couple of weeks. I've probably listened to it 6 to 8 times. Really enjoy this one. I've listened to it. I got it about a year and a half ago. I probably listened to it 3 or 4 times then and hadn't revisited it until now. So let's get started. This is Phil Wood's Musique du Bois, and I may be totally butchering that because I'm not French, but this is a really special record. It's on Muse, and you got Jackie Byard on piano, Richard Davis on bass, and Alan Dawson on drums. So, yeah, you could just stop watching the video now and go buy this. That's my recommendation. But if you're interested, keep watching. So let's talk a little bit about the guys that are on this. Phil Woods, if you're not familiar with him, he's like an all-time talent on the alto sax. He started back in, I guess, the late bebop days. He was known as the second Charlie Parker. There are other guys that were called that too. Sonny Rollins was called that. Other folks were, the heir apparent to Charlie Parker, but Phil Woods, was one of the ones that was described that way. So we're talking about a guy that just got outstanding talent. He's up there with other of my favorite alto sax players. I really enjoy the alto sax, like looks like Paul Desmond, Charlie Parker as the original, right? Lee Konitz I enjoy a whole lot. There's just a bunch of guys. Eric Dolphy plays alto sax. It's just a great instrument. So, there's some other really good players on this record. Jackie Byard is a piano player. He could play any style of piano. He was just an amazing talent. Top tier, another top tier guy for me. Um, Richard Davis, the bass player, has played on all kinds of stuff. He has done a lot of more out there stuff. Like I believe he's done stuff with Dolphy. He's on a bunch of records I own, and I enjoy his playing on all of them. Here, it's especially interesting. This is a pretty straight ahead jazz record, but it has some flavors of the avant-garde outside of the normal jazz sound. It's more of a tinge than like the whole records. All right, now I'm going to walk through each one of the songs and try to describe them to you. I want to express the feelings that the songs give me and also kind of describe the structure and who's doing what. So let's get started. The first song on the album is called Samba du Bois. It's by Phil Woods. Has a really interesting intro with this double string plucking by Richard Davis. Phil joins in almost immediately and slowly builds up the opening salvo as Alan Dawson enters the picture with Jackie. This turns into a full-on barn burner with atonal tongue-slapped funkiness mixed in. After Phil blows up the place, Jackie takes over with a powerful solo. At times it sounds like two people are playing the piano. To end this one, Phil plays another solo with some more out there elements that are echoed by Jackie. It's a really interesting song to start the album with. The next song is Willow Wept for Me. This classic pop standard is turned on its head here. The song features this opening vamp from Miles Davis's All Blue, from Kinda Blue. So that vamp is kind of mixed throughout the song. It's in the beginning, it's in the end. Different players kind of pick it up. Sometimes it's the piano like you expect, and sometimes it's Richard on bass. Other times it's Phil doing that while the other guys are doing something totally different. So it's really neat treatment. So as that vamp's getting started, Phil plays this beautiful experiment. We settle into a swinging groove with Phil while Jackie comes beautifully. This is an expertly crafted session. It's the whole record is just really well put together. So anyway, in this part of the song, Phil just ends up winding things up to this great crescendo, and then Richard comes in for his first solo of the record. It's just him and Alan on drums here. Very cool solo that echoes the theme and some experimentation. Again, that a little bit of avant-garde creeping in. This leads into a solo from Jackie, and the dynamic between Richard and Jackie is just insane in this part of the song. They take turns kind of maintaining the theme and improvising. So it's not like they're trading fours, but they're, one of them will be like keeping the song going while the other one improvises a little bit, and they kind of switch back and forth. It's really neat. Willow for me was a pop hit that several different singers sang. I was not familiar with the tune before this record. This is one of my favorite tracks on the record for sure. Next up, we have Nefertiti, the beautiful Wayne Shorter composition. It's treated very well here. We start again with Phil putting all kinds of just soul and emotional content into the opening. His range on the alto is amazing. His register sounds like the baritone in spots. So he's just playing along, beautiful alto. He's got some growliness. It's just all kinds of different tones that he can access. And there's parts where it feels like he's playing a different instrument. Jackie gets a chance at the wheel, which quickly morphs into a solo by Richard. While Richard is soloing, Jackie is comping for him, and it's like an accentuation once a measure that fulfills what Richard is trying to say. So Richard's just going along doing his thing, and Jackie's just, hitting one note every like four beats that's kind of accentuating the thing. Phil then comes back to the front with a very gentle treatment. He throws in a couple of tongue-slapped grunts, which bring accentuations to his story. Again, another great tune. The great Wayne Shorter had a birthday last week, and this is one of his classics. The next tune is another Phil Woods composition called The Last Page, and this may be the best track on the record. It opens with Phil making these little sentimental statements and rolls into pop-influenced bop for a moment before it gets torn down to its elements again. Next, a differently timed vamp picks up, and Phil is back to sounding sweet and smooth. Bam, back to bopping again. This track changes times constantly. It's really an outstanding tune. The changing of the time signatures on this one really is kind of an emotional roller coaster where you're feeling kind of sentimental and maybe a little melancholy, and then it just kicks into like this real poppy, awesome sound. And as this is developing, Phil starts tearing this thing up. There's a section where he gets super growly and dirty, and then soars all over the place. Honestly, you just have to hear this tune. It's a little bit beyond words for me. Again, it's probably my favorite one on the whole album. We got two tracks left. The next one's called "The Summer Knows." It's by the great Michel Legrand. This opens up with Jackie and Phil again, kind of gently getting things started. It's really beautifully done. We're settling into the slightly melancholy strolling scene that's being painted for us. Andrew is keeping the pace with beautiful brushwork, and Richard is kind of soloing in the empty spaces that Phil leaves open. It's really, this band really comes together, and you can tell they're really listening to each other. They're all amazing musicians that have been doing this for years. So, they come to this session and just, it's like they've been practicing all these songs forever, and they haven't at all. I mean, they all kind of walked in and learned the tunes. There were several takes taken. Some of the songs had 6 or 7 takes, but they worked it all out. And it's another example of the amazing talent that all these jazz musicians had, where they could just work together and hear each other and know what was going on. Jackie starts like this back of the stage sounding rolling boil, while the other players are just kind of doing their thing. And Phil joins in, and it comes to like this point that then translates into a more swinging pace. It's this really interesting transition of the song. The crew rolls through the rest of the track in fine fashion. I can't imagine sitting at the control booth and hearing this live. Phil ends up having the last word after the band stops the whole song and puts in a small solo that really seems out of nowhere. It really accentuates the whole tune, and then the band kind of rejoins for the final notes. So the last track, and certainly not the least on the record, is called Aragon by Sonny Rollins. This hard bop classic is everything you would expect it to be if you're familiar with the song. The tempo is amazing, and the band is like jamming and just swinging their asses off. Phil's alto take on the song is wonderful. This is traditionally a tenor song that Sonny Rollins and others played, and I really like the way that Phil treats it. So this thing just builds up to a fever a third of the way into the track. It's just a total smoke show. I mean, it's super high energy, fast tempo, hard bop. You'd expect to hear this like on an Art Blakey record. So about halfway into the song, Jackie just takes the whole thing over. This band plays a half dozen different styles on this record. His contribution here is up there with the best hard bop smashers of all time. This solo is just simply great. Can't recommend this record enough. So after Jackie gets done, Richard takes the bass for a walk during a solo where he is just keeping the time right on the beat. It's classic hard bop bass playing, but it's the solo, which is it's really cool. So to end this great hard bop track, Phil and Andrew trade fours for a while. Again, just super high energy, really enjoyable to listen to, and then that kind of finishes out the track. All right, so I talked through all the songs and tried to convey some emotion and you know what was going on in the tracks. Again, I can't recommend this record highly enough. There's cheap copies available. I encourage you to stream it and let me know what you think about it if you're familiar with it in the comments, and like and subscribe if you haven't before. Thanks a lot for joining me. Bye.